Hello and welcome to State of the Economy. Today we have with us the CEO of Star India, Uday Shankar, to discuss with us a very interesting subject, the media. We are all part of the media, but the media is going through one of its worst crises, if I may say so. It's by and large the media industry, the balance sheets are bleeding. Media is facing other crises in terms of its relationship with the government, in terms of certain debates around self-regulation, or should there be a regulation of media? So, discuss all these issues. We have with us Uday Shankar. Very welcome to our show, Uday.
Thank you.
So, please tell us what is going on with the media. Why is the media industry bleeding?
It's bleeding for a variety of reasons, but most importantly, it's bleeding because the entire business model of media, whether it is in print or it is in TV, is under huge pressure, and it's totally unsustainable. Venu. Very quickly, in print, media has decided, the Indian newspapers have decided that they will make all their monies from advertising, and they would subsidize the cost of printing the newspaper and distributing it. That model is clearly not sustainable.
Not sustainable, yeah.
In TV, again, it's the same advertising-driven model that everybody seems to have gone for. And subscription revenues, which basically means that you are less vulnerable to market forces, and people like your content, consumers like your content, and hence they pay you every month for buying your content, is not happening. So we are just too heavily dependent on the most vulnerable form of advertising, most vulnerable form of revenue, that's advertising. And when you realize that advertising to GDP ratio in this country is 0.4, one of the lowest in the world, then you realize that the kitty available is too small.
It's about 35,000 crore, is it, roughly?
The total, yeah.
Totally.
But, it's too small a number to sustain such a large universe of media.
Sure, yeah. So what you're suggesting is that there should be a balance between advertising revenue as well as subscription revenues, right?
Yes, to start with.
And tell me, roughly 35,000 crore is the total advertising revenue which is shared by all forms of media, right? And I find that there are some registered 5,000 newspapers and now over maybe 1,000 TV channels. How do these people survive? And there's another bit of data which I've been told about, which is 95% of all advertising actually goes to less than 5% of media companies. So the question arises, how do the other 95% media companies, what do they survive on if they don't have advertising revenue?
See, while that may not be quite the case, but broadly, yes, the most successful newspaper companies take away bulk of the advertising revenue, and same is the case for TV. But that's true for any part of the world. The problem here is that the question that you ask is the fundamental one. How do the others, whether it is 85 or 95%,
how do they survive?
The other companies, how do they survive? They survive without making any money, and that's the beauty of this business. That there are two reasons why people come to media in this country. That one, those who are true blue media entrepreneurs, media business houses, they invest in media and they want to make money out of media, and that number is just a handful. And then there are rest of them who look at non-financial returns on their investment. They want to get an entry into influential politicians' living rooms. They want to get licenses. They want to keep the tax officials at bay. They want to keep the cops at bay, and those are the reasons why they continue to invest. And the cost of entry into media is very, very small.
That's what, I believe 50 crores you can start a TV channel, right?
No, at 50 crores you can start a serious TV channel. At 5 crores you could start a TV channel. And that's, so it's a very small investment. I mean, you have huge NPAs or loan defaults. Rather than having to pay the banks, go and start a news channel.
Sure. And is that why a whole lot of real estate developers across different states
Absolutely.
Have launched TV channels?
Correct. Real estate developers in every market. I'll tell you quickly a story. When I was running Star News many years ago, one real estate developer from Western UP was facing a lot of demonstration from the people who had put in money in his business. He called me and he said, please don't give publicity to these guys. I said, of course, this is a real story, it would be carried. 6 months later, I got a call from the guy. He said, I realized that media can make a lot of trouble for me. The only way to get around it is if I become media myself. I'm quoting him. He went and launched some 6 or 7 channels. They have all bitten the dust. But the guy goes and launches channels, hires a bunch of journalists, forces these journalists to use their clout to get him, to buy him peace with the law enforcement agencies. That's the racket that's going on. The other set of people who are doing this are the politicians.
Sure.
You want to have a say. You want to, you want a propaganda vehicle, and that's, you're not getting it legitimately because you have nothing new to say, or you're lost in the cacophony. So just put in 15, 20, 30, 40 crores of black money, which is easy to raise, and launch your own news channel.
So do you feel that this is one of the reasons why media, especially television media, is also getting a bad name in terms of
hugely
practices which are not ethical?
Absolutely.
And whole lot of these Johnny come lately or fly by night operators creating.
I think this is one big reason why all media is getting a bad name, all journalists are getting tarred, and I think there is a sometimes I suspect if there is a sinister conspiracy from the larger political class to allow it to happen, because the less credibility the media enjoys, the better it is for the political class.
But Uday, isn't it also true that some really established old 100-year-old media organizations also have indulged in practices which have come under the scanner, but they have justified it under various commercial, under the garb of genuine commercial practices.
And that's the other part of
like
the problem.
The private treaties, etc.
That's the other part of the problem. That, you cannot be in the business of media. It's a very unique business. You are the interlocutor between the society and the policy establishment. You cannot use that position to take policy benefits for yourself or some, in some form or the other. And that's why when even, no matter what kind of name you want to give it, no matter how glossily you package it, but if you are writing about the people and you have a private deal with the same guys, private equity deal with the same guys, which you do not publicly announce, and you do not, run a disclaimer each time you run the story that, I may have a vested interest in this company, then it corrodes the equity of media as a whole. So between these two sets,
especially if it is done by leaders,
especially if it is done by the leaders and big people. So between these two sets of people, completely dodgy operators like property developers and scamsters and corrupt politicians, and seasoned media professionals who are indulging in unsavory practices or grey areas.
So there's a problem between these two.
There's a huge problem.
We'll take a small break here. Please stay with us and don't go away. Welcome back to State of the Economy. We are speaking to the CEO of Star India, Uday Shankar, on issues relating to media. So Uday, you were saying that there are two sets of problems. One, of course, with the fly-by-night operators, one with leading media companies. Now, tell me, in all this, where is the debate about media regulation stand? Where does the debate about media regulation stand? Because the government had set up a group of ministers, if you remember, under Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, before he became president, to look at issues in regard to regulation of media or self-regulation of media. We've had media itself debating this whole issue. So, where do you stand on that?
See, there are two things. First of all, the risk of government or official regulation of media is always there, and that it's a Damocles sword that's hanging and it can snap anytime. And we haven't helped our case. Media hasn't helped its case by not doing some of the stuff that it should be doing, and vice versa. So, while TV has been somewhat alive to this whole debate, and that's why attempts have been made both by news broadcasters and non-news broadcasters to create some kind of autonomous, self-regulatory bodies. I think print lives in complete denial. There has been zero debate.
There seems to be a divide between print and television also. Print says that there is a television problem.
I'll come to that. But it is not a television problem. When everybody knows that paid news is rampant in print, when everybody knows that owners and editors and journalists' integrity is under huge scanner in print, you cannot just say that it's not a problem. And if you play such a key role in society and you do not ask the questions yourselves, you're only shutting your eyes to the impending storm. And that's what is happening in print. Television, on the other hand, has tried to do some of these things, but television still needs to understand that credibility comes from two things. One, I think television has done a good job by setting up these autonomous self-regulatory bodies to which it has subjected itself, and content is being scrutinized by eminent people. So that's a good thing, and that's why I think in the last 5 years some very serious efforts to put in an official regulators have been fended off. The second thing is where television hasn't done really a good job is the whole question of credibility of media or content that comes from competence and authority. I think that is a serious issue that we all need to examine. That people, the quality of content that we create and the quality of journalism that we do needs to be reviewed very, very rigorously, and we need to ramp up our offerings substantially. The problem is that it has become somewhat of a chicken and an egg problem. Your business case is so poor or so badly broken down that you don't have the ability to invest in quality content, because quality content means investment in quality journalists and invest in quality news gathering and analysis.
So when will the business case, how can it improve? Do you see consolidation? Do you think that in the television space, there's really no place for more than say 4 players or 3 or 4 players? Similarly, newspapers, like it happened in the West, just a few players and more regional kind of localized players. Are we heading towards that, or will we remain chaotic like this for the next
I think
many years?
We should head towards that kind of thing. Unpopulist as it might sound to say this, that there is need for consolidation because the market just cannot sustain so many newspapers, so many news channels at national and regional levels both. We don't even have the supply. There is one MCRC Jamia, there is one IMC which used to be there 15-20 years ago, and today the number of media outfits has grown so exponentially, but the supply hasn't kept pace. So you've got all these fly-by-night shops that are coming up and putting in spurious people. Mm-hmm. So for a variety of reasons, that consolidation needs to happen. However, I suspect that media owners, those who want to run it for their own dodgy reasons, as well as those who are already there and established, they don't want that consolidation to happen, because consolidation means some people will have to fold up, and I don't think that
those who have set up for clout they may not want to fold up.
Exactly, they don't want to fold up because it's huge clout. Why go and worry about anything else if you can just go and start a little newspaper and start punching above your weight in the local area. And I don't think that the government and successive governments, I think, have been have any interest in cleaning up the media scene. Every government has wanted, and most ministers, and particularly I&B minister, with I think the exception of Ambika Soni, has only wanted to control the media. They just don't want to create a structure that will allow for a vibrant media ecosystem, because it's good to have weak, emaciated, financially bankrupt media community which you can control far more easily.
What is your take on corporate ownership of media? Does that also create issues?
Look, somebody has to own media, right? Because when you want to launch a newspaper or a TV channel, somebody has to put in the money, and you have to decide who will put in the money. Either you allow true blue media companies who invest in the business of media, either in this country or globally. Either you allow them to come in and put the money in. We don't allow, in news, we don't allow more than 26% of foreign ownership. So that investment opportunity has been shut down. Or you allow big Indian corporates to come in, because it's increasingly becoming an expensive.
What about internet, digital? I'm sure your Rupert Murdoch can come in digital, right?
Yeah, but look, digital is still a very small opportunity. It's still not grown. And when there was no print was regulated for a long time. Television wasn't regulated. Our company came in, we set up Star News, which was a very high quality channel. And then suddenly one night we were told that in 3 weeks' time you sell off 74% and get the hell out of here. So when that kind of thing happens, it just destroys confidence.
Sorry, you were saying something about corporate, that you need some money. So if corporate.
So somebody needs to put in money, Venu. Now either you bring in international investors,
capital or local capital,
or you bring in local capital. Within local capital, either you bring in the big corporates, because somebody needs to put in the money. Sure. And when the business case of media is becoming so weak, then you need the big corporates to come in, or you need the very dodgy players to come in. Yeah. So we have set the deck in such a way that corporates will come in, and I don't think necessarily there is anything wrong with corporates. Do
you agree with the TRA chairman's suggestion that there could be some sort of an institutionalized buffer between the owner, corporate owner, and the media organization, where some sort of independence can be retained through a trust or some such mechanism?
That's the point I was, my own view is that I don't think there is anything wrong per se with corporate investment in media. The problem is when the corporate investment is not transparent. And when you don't know, how that corporate investment, what that investment is being used for, what are the objectives that it's being used to do.
So transparency is the real issue.
So transparency is a real issue.
We'll take a small break here. Please stay with us. Welcome back to State of the Economy. We are having a conversation with the CEO of Star India, Uday Shankar. So Uday, so transparency, you said, is a real issue. So you need capital. So there's no harm in corporates investing in the media, but it should be done in a way which is
it's transparent, completely transparent. And the other thing is that the transparency will come when you strengthen the editorial institution within the media house. One of the key problems that I think today is that the institution of the editor has completely collapsed in most companies. The owners have beaten the editor to become almost invisible. How can you allow that to happen? So we don't have, the society at large has no way of knowing that when whether the owner or the investor is using the investment for the right reasons or misusing it. Who's going to stand up and scream? It's only the editor, it's only the journalist. And that editorial institution has completely collapsed. And there is nothing, either as a community or as a society, we have done nothing.
So you think this is also another crisis, another dimension
huge crisis
of the crisis?
You can't have a great media company without having a very strong, very vibrant editorial institution. And that, it's becoming increasingly weaker. In television, the problem is that the editors have become, most editors are just, have become very strong faces individually. And the editorial institution is not very strong. In print, the editors are becoming invisible. Sure. So you don't know what the media product stands for. And when, and because the editor is not strong, he or she is in no position to withstand the pressure or unfair pressure from the corporates.
Corporates, yeah, that's true. Tell me, coming to your own organization now, globally, your parent company,
Fox, 21st Century Fox,
generally Rupert Murdoch, he seems to have followed a different model elsewhere in the West. In India, it seems he's not followed that very model. In the sense, in UK, for instance, there's a tabloidish approach to journalism which Rupert Murdoch followed, and that also resulted in some controversies which have also resulted in a debate in UK about media regulation, right? Now, what are the learnings from that, from your own company's perspective?
See, first of all, we are not in the business of newspapers here. We've never been.
So
we are not even in the business of television news anymore. So
is that why you avoided, because of those experiences?
No, here we avoided for two reasons. First of all, entry into print was always limited only to the extent of 26%. Yeah. We had Star News, but then when FDI restrictions came in and we were reduced to 26%, with 26%, you have no influence on how to shape the business, how to shape the content, how to shape the business. We believe in the power of content, in the entertainment business, in sports business, or globally. Mistakes may have been made in other parts of the country, and, for which the company has paid, and it has done its
So is there a learning from all that in other markets? Yeah?
But the core learning remains the same, that high quality content is what gives you very high quality relationship with your society and your consumer. Even in the UK, let's not forget that the Times of London is one of the global benchmarks of high quality journalism. Sure. So I think that opportunity has not been given to foreign media companies in this country.
So what is the solution? I mean, how do you?
I think the solution.
No, in the sense, what I'm getting at is, if one assumes that in the next 5 years, the action will shift to digital web media, would that provide an opportunity for somebody like, say, Star? Because at least there you don't have these FDI regulations, etc., right?
You don't have for now. Yeah. But who knows when when it becomes meaningful, then how the government will behave. That's one. The second thing is, I think digital. You and I can't stop digital even if we want to. It's happening, and that's the way forward. Yeah. But we have to be careful. There is no substitute to quality journalism. Digital has a huge danger. Anybody can say anything and just upload it, and before you realize it was utter rubbish, it has already done the damage. Sure. And the problem is that we are all getting carried away that digital may be the panacea. It's not.
The government is also seized of this whole issue.
Yeah, but the government's approach to everything is that shut it down.
Yeah, shut it down. Yeah.
That's not the way.
Throw the baby out with the bathwater.
You need to create traditional. You need to strengthen high quality journalism in this country, and government needs to do that. Proprietors need to do that, and managers need to do that. My biggest frustration as a content person, my biggest frustration comes from the fact that there is such little commitment to investment in high quality content, whether it is in journalism or non-journalistic content. Everybody thinks that it's all about, the magic of marketing. It's all about aggressive selling. No, fundamentally, it's about high quality content. Could Ferrari, BMW, or Mercedes survive without making high quality cars only on glitzy ads? No. And similarly, we need to create high quality content. I don't think there is enough collective focus on quality content.
Okay. So what should be done to deal with this crisis?
I think
what's your 2 or 3,
I think first and foremost, we need both in television and in newspapers. The industry needs to take a collective call that the subscribers must start paying a little more. We must get more money out of subscribers. You cannot spend 20 rupees to publish a newspaper and charge 3 rupees from the subscriber. That economics just doesn't work, because somewhere, resources are finite, somewhere you will start cutting corners. So that's one thing. The second thing is, we clearly don't have space for such a large number of media products.
You're coming about consolidation.
And the third.
But tell me, on the subscriber thing, you're right. But there seems to be a lack of consensus even among, say, the television media people, especially in the news space, and also on what sort of TRP system that you should have. There's been toing and froing on the meters and how we should improve the system.
There are issues with the meters and all that.
For so many years, you've not.
That's being fixed. Now the industry has come together. That's being fixed. The real problem is that people are afraid to go and ask for more money from the consumer, because consumer will then start determining the quality, and consumer will not pay for trash. Okay. So everybody, you need to have high quality content, only then will the consumer pay. And I think people are a little afraid, because I think most of us are aware that our content is not as good as this country deserves to have.
So there's really a crisis of content.
There is a serious crisis of content, and there is a serious crisis of.
And you're saying that if you really improve it, people will pay for it also, right?
Absolutely. People do pay for it. Look, people are paying a lot of money, whenever they see good quality content. Suddenly we have seen how, cinema tickets. Prices have gone up. People are paying for that happily. People pay for, our experience with HD when we offered that people were very happy to pay for high quality content. And the way HD has taken off in this country should give you a sense of that.
So it's so to sum up, it's really everything boils down to the content. Yeah,
I think everything boils down to content, and everything boils down to the vision of content that the owners and proprietors
So
have.
this is what the media as a collective, industry as a needs to address. Thank you very much, Uday Shankar, for talking to us
Thanks,
and
Venu.
sharing your thoughts. That's all we have in this edition of State of the Economy. We'll be back with you next week. Thanks for watching.